Welcome to I Feel Fat Today. I'm your host, Kelly Taylor. Thank you so much for joining. Follow us on YouTube at I Feel Fat Today podcast. Please go there and subscribe, and you can get full video episodes on YouTube. Please like and comment on the videos. Let me know your thoughts on the episode. I'd love to hear from you. And then head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review, letting us know how much you love the show and you want more of it. And it's great. And let everyone else know about it. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. You can also follow us and listen to us on Spotify. And send me an email at ifeelfattoday@gmail.com if you want to, get some advice or anything of the sort. Let me know what you think of the show. Give me advice, whatever. You can email us there. And follow us on social media. Find out about new episodes that come out every Friday on our Instagram at I Feel Fat Today. And you can follow me, your host, Kelly Taylor, at Hello, This is Kelly. That's where you can find us. All right. I'm getting into it today. I don't have much for you before we get into our interview this week. It's a really great conversation that I have with my guests that I think is really interesting, and you guys will really enjoy it. Before I get into that, I don't have an article or a life update or anything like that. Aside from the fact that I turned 31 this week. I am recording this on the eve of my 31st birthday, October 10th, 10 out of 10. And I don't feel any kind of way about it. I kind of just feel happy, I guess. I don't know. I love birthdays. I'm a big birthday girl. And I'm turning 31. I'm still just a little baby. Still just a baby. And my skin looks good. Even though there's definitely I have such a skewed vision of myself when I record on Zoom, because I think there's like a soft focus that is applied. Because right now my skin looks amazing, and I think it's a filter. But I am going to live in the reality where it's not, and I don't need Botox. Here we go. Okay, so listen, you guys come to I Feel Fat Today for levity from everyday atrocities of life. And you come to this podcast for maybe an update in pop culture news, not on foreign relations or anything of the sort. Nothing that really matters. You don't come to this podcast for that. And I just want to say that in the few weeks of doing this podcast, this is going to be episode 21 that is coming out. So that's 21 weeks of podcasting. It's not lost on me that it could come off that I'm complaining a lot, and that I, as the host of this podcast with the subject matter that I talk about and my own lived experience, that I could come off to some as like a woe is me sort of vibe. And I don't want that to be the overarching feel of the podcast, but I know it can get there sometimes. This is coming from the girl that has sat here and cried in front of a recording camera with a ring light on my face. So like I kind of get what I'm trying to do here. Just communicate how I'm feeling and where I'm at, and the whole journey of that. And I do really appreciate this podcast for the people that I've spoken to and the things I've learned along the way. And I just want to have the intro for today's podcast serve as a reminder that I am supremely grateful for what I have. I am grateful for the shelter that I have, this amazing apartment. I am grateful for my dog, my cat, my mans. I'm grateful for all of that, my family, and I think that I spend so much of my time, even just earlier today, having this feeling of like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. I hate the way that you look. I hate the way that you feel. Um, I hate, I hate this compulsion to eat and, you know, live this unhealthy lifestyle. Like I dog on myself hard, and I'm trying to be better at the fact that being able to sit there and pick apart all of the things that I dislike about myself that I think, are bad about me, whether it's, intrinsic values or just this meat suit that I'm in. I try to be mindful of the fact that I need to be grateful for the fact, or I am grateful that I have all my working limbs. I have my vision, I have my hearing, I have my memory, for as poor as that can be at times, and I wish was something that I was better with. Or, I have the ability to choose a line of work in which I am working really hard to make something for myself. Like, I'm in the position, I was born with the brain that is compelled to get up on stage and tell jokes. Like, I'm grateful for all of that, and grateful for the privilege that I have. And so I just want to say that I don't think it goes without saying. I think it should be said that I need to acknowledge that, for all the things that have come up in my life that have served as an adversary to myself, and have felt unfair and, bad. For all those things that have happened, I've had so much good happen in my life. I'm grateful for what I have, and that, I this is grim to say, and, I don't want to put anything damaging to myself out there, but, I could be a burn victim. Like, I could, you know, just insert horrible thing here. I could have so much bad shit happen to me, and yeah, then that all could happen, but it hasn't, and I'm grateful for it. And this podcast really just serves as a platform for me to, comment on diet culture, um in our society, and where we are with diet culture and body positivity, body neutrality, where we are with that in the zeitgeist, and really interviewing people and speaking with them, and um hearing their stories and things that they've dealt with, and where they are now, and things that they've overcome, because I do feel like part of what makes this podcast so great is the ability to learn from other people. And maybe, just maybe, you have a shared experience with someone that you would have never known you have that experience. And so that's why I do this. And I hope you guys like it. And I just want to sort of throw it out there. This will serve for the next 2050 episodes, just a blanket apology if I am ever come across annoying or uninformed. I'm just trying my best. And I really am grateful for everything. I'm grateful for this podcast, and I'm excited for it to become the number one trending podcast on iTunes, whatever that means. I don't know what I just said. Anyways, we're gonna get into it with my guest this week. She is a stand-up comedian and psychic healer. She is a transformational spiritual life coach and soon to be published author. Please welcome to the show the very funny, the very talented Kristen Tinsley. Kristen, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Kelly. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you on. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Oh, man. So, Kristen, I have you on the show because you had reached out with a very compelling story And I thought you are perfect for I Feel Fat today. So I'm really excited to get into it. You are working on a book that's titled My 600-Pound Afterlife: How to Live After Weight Loss.
Yes.
So, how much weight have you lost, and what was your highest weight?
So my highest weight was 605 pounds. I took off the 5 pounds and the title for my shoes.
Obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the highest weight that I ever was. Yeah.
Wow. And how much did you lose?
I lost so far a total of 420 pounds.
Wow. Wow. That is incredible. That is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
So I have so many questions. My everything's just bouncing around my head.
Yeah.
So I think where I want to begin is um how old were you when you were at that highest weight of 605? And how long did it take you to lose the weight?
Okay. So I think I was about 36 years old. I'm 42 now.
Okay.
So it was 605. And then when I saw that, I was like, whoa, like I really need to do something about this. I had not realized that my weight had gotten that high because, when you're overweight, you don't notice a 5 to 10 pound difference. 20,
No,
30 pounds is like nothing. And especially when you go to the doctor and those doctor scales only go up to like 300 pounds. So everyone just kind of took my word for it that I was okay, 315 maybe, or maybe 305, and the scale just wasn't registering it. And nobody ever forced the issue. So I actually didn't find out how much I actually weighed until I ended up in the hospital with an infection. So that was when I decided that, it still took me about another year, 2 years after that for it to come in and really sink in that I needed to do something. So it took me about 5 years total to lose that amount of weight.
wow. And I think it's really important for you to point out how it took, like what you said, it was a little over a year or about a year before you actually decided to do something.
Do something,
Be-
yeah.
because as somebody that has, I'm trying not to say struggled with my weight, but that's what comes to mind. I feel
Yeah.
like I've always struggled with my weight. It always has been like, it wasn't one day I was like, I need to make a change. It was like a harsh reality
Yeah.
of seeing my highest and then being uh sort of marinating on it for
Right.
another.
Deciding what to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it was more of the physical part I knew how to handle because I wasn't always that high of a weight. We get into toxic situations in our life. I was in a toxic, abusive relationship and I wasn't where I needed to be in my life. I was just kind of very stuck and stagnant. My emotions were really very down. I was depressed. I had no self-worth, no self-esteem. I was completely beaten down. And that was, very different from the person that I was before I got into that connection, or just not even just the connection, just that phase of my life,
Right.
graduating college. I started college later, not being able to get a career or a job or really do anything, that I really wanted to do with my life. I was just completely just down.
Yep.
So when it came to, I didn't even think of that number because when you see that high number, you automatically start calculating in your head, well, this is how much weight I have to lose. And that number can be daunting,
I can
especially when you
imagine.
have a number in your head that's unrealistic,
Mm,
because we want to stay as far away from the highest weight that we are. So, of course, I was like, I got to get down to 150 pounds.
right.
Honey, I'm not built for 150
Yeah,
pounds.
that's not in
I'm
your
not.
reality.
It's
Right.
not reality, but that's the reality that we have in our head with the old stories in our brain that tell us. And we know the struggle that we've had. My cat's going to jump in here at any second.
I love it.
We know the struggle that we've had, whenever we started something and we stopped something. But what I came to realize most of all, because there was two instances that had happened. The first one, when I left my relationship and I couldn't defend myself in a situation that I needed to get out of. I couldn't breathe when I was attacked. But and then when my sister-in-law, after I had left that relationship, I had lost a lot of weight. I got myself down to 340 pounds. And then my sister-in-law was diagnosed with stage 4 cervical cancer. So for a whole year, everything was just panic mode. We didn't know when she was going to pass. She was in and out of the hospital,
Yeah.
late nights hanging out, eating junk food, just not caring, stopped
Trying to
working out.
feel good. Just trying
Feel
to
good,
feel
right? To
good.
comfort yourself, exactly. And then I made a promise to her. I said, I'm gonna do something about my weight, because she was literally dying, and I knew that I still had some sort of life after this.
Yeah.
And I knew that I could take the weight off because I joined kickboxing at like 480 pounds.
Yeah.
And I did that every day. I went to a nutritionist. I had turned my life around at that point, and that was a crashing moment when everything just went downhill again. But I
Right.
realized it was more of an emotional thing than it was a physical thing. Well, it was
It
both, but the emotions.
it absolutely, and just the, what you're describing, it absolutely sounds like your weight being high is a symptom of a chaotic life that you had been
Absolutely.
living.
That's exactly what I talk about in the book, because our emotions, the foods that we eat, are indicative of the emotions that you're trying to
Yeah.
process. So like, cookies, cake, that symbolizes comfort and, just feeling vulnerable, because if you drop a piece of cake, it's going to break all over the floor. If you're
Yeah.
feeling anxiety, you go for, for crunchy stuff, for all that. And actually, people probably want to know how I lost the weight. I had to go for
Yes.
weight loss surgery. I did. I went for weight loss surgery. I knew I
Can
had to
I
do something.
can
Yeah.
I ask which one you had?
I had the gastric sleeve.
Okay.
So I had gotten myself down to 340 pounds, kickboxing, dieting, medication, stuff like that. I got myself down to that.
Wow.
And then after my weight ballooned back up to like 460, that's when I was like, all right, you're really heading back. Cause I was
Yeah.
born with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which a lot of people have with that. And if you have that, losing weight and gaining weight can almost be almost impossible when you have,
Right.
this endocrine disorders. So I knew I had to do something, and I made an appointment with a surgeon, and I didn't decide to actually have surgery until they were knocking me out. It was a
Yeah.
very hard
Feet to
decision
the
to make.
fire.
Right. But I realized more than ever when I was recovering from that is when I actually started to feel my emotions again.
Wow.
And I knew that, I couldn't give in to whatever cravings, not that there was any, but, there was no way that I could go back to the way I was eating. I physically could not do that,
Yeah.
because prior to that, it was so bad. The eating was so, so bad. It was out of control. So,
Had you ever seen a doctor or any kind of specialist for an eating disorder?
okay, so we'll bring it there. I have tried every diet known to man on this planet. I'm like one big, science experiment
Diet
since the 80s.
encyclopedia.
Diet encyclopedia. I was 125 pounds in kindergarten. The dieting journey started there
Yeah.
with Dexatrim in my lunchbox when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
So at about 14 or 15, I discovered bulimia, because I was a binge eater.
Yeah.
So I would eat a lot of food at once, but then I would beat myself up for eating all of that. And then I heard about bulimia, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I could do that. Not thinking that it was dangerous,
Right. Right.
because you grew up in the 90s, anorexia was dangerous.
Right.
Bulimia was something they didn't really talk about. So I started doing that. And then my
Yeah.
mother caught me, and she brought me to the doctor, and the doctor's like, well, your esophagus is bleeding. You have like, you're getting acid on your teeth, you're ruining
Yeah.
your teeth. But he never said, I think you should see someone for an eating disorder,
Right.
because they don't see overweight people
Yeah.
as having an eating disorder. They have
Even
other things
though
to say about it.
even
Yeah,
though it was right in front of your face,
right in front.
their
Yeah,
face, you were presenting all of the symptoms,
right.
but you didn't have an eating disorder.
No support, nothing. I was shamed. I was,
Yeah.
criticized. My mother, punished me for that. I was watched like a hawk in my family to make sure that I wasn't doing that, but there was
Mm-hmm.
no psychological support with that. There was
Right.
no therapy offered. There was nothing.
Right.
So I didn't take it. I mean, I stopped because I felt, you know, I'm making my esophagus bleed. I can't do that. But the
Yeah.
thought process isn't there. Okay, but nobody stepped in and said, "Hey, we're gonna really help you with your diet here, Chris." We're really
Right.
going to, get you moving. I was always left on my own to do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be in control of what you eat. You
Yep.
have to, and you know what? Thank you for doing that, because that is the biggest and strongest flex that I have, is taking that road, figuring it out myself, knowing what's best for my body as opposed to what somebody else is telling me is good for my body. And that's how I was able to help myself, both emotionally and physically, because it's not about the physical weight that we carry. It's about the emotional weight that we
Yeah.
carry. Once you get rid of that, you never have to go on another diet journey again.
And that is something that's finally landing with me. But if, listener, you're listening to this and that's completely lost on you, it's because you're just not there in the journey yet, because that has
Right.
been told to me in the past. And it wasn't until I started unpacking this emotional luggage that I had, where I physically felt lighter. I
Lighter.
could not
Yep.
believe it. And
Absolutely.
I am on that journey of trying to exist in a world where I am healthy, but I'm not on a diet.
Right. I call it, it's not a weight loss like what I do with people. It's not a weight loss journey. It's a weight less journey.
Oh, I love
So you're
that.
not carrying it all
Yeah.
around all the time, because when you can get to the root of the problem and you can find out, well, when did this start? And you could start to rewrite these stories and change the narratives in your brain. That's
Mm-hmm.
when you can start to rewrite yourself a new life. That's the first thing you do before you start any diet program. You
Yeah.
have to change your mind first, and then manifesting the goal that you want will just be easy. And
That's
then you're
amazing.
done. It
Mm-hmm.
ends the dieting yo-yo. It ends it 100%.
I think something that I'm starting to really realize and give myself a break on, because sometimes I can really be cruel to myself and how I, say will binge eat, and I, can't understand why I'm doing this, until I started to realize through therapy and my therapist telling me that a lot of my things with food were coping mechanisms in order for me to survive in the perceived threat of my environment, which sounds like a loaded heavy thing. But as a kid, when there's chaos happening around you to any degree, really, you have to find a way to survive. And for me, I found that in food, and it sounds dramatic to say, but it kept me alive, quote unquote,
Right,
because
exactly, because it's exactly. So that's how it came in
yeah,
your mind.
yeah.
Because here's the thing. The body, biological, sees weight loss as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
When we hear diet, what is the first three letters of the word diet?
Yep.
DIE. So our brain hears that and sees it. So, and then when we start to lose fat, because let me tell you something, fat is not a negative. Having fat on your body is not a negative. It is a positive. It keeps you warm. It keeps you cushioned. There's a lot of different fat cells that have different functions within the body, but it's also where our emotions are stored.
Mm.
So once you, especially if you're a bariatric person and you're listening to this and you wondered why after the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks after surgery, you started getting this emotional downpour, is because you were losing, fat so rapidly, everything's being released at once.
Wow, I
So,
hadn't considered that.
the body sees fat loss as a threat. Let me tell you something else. This is something they don't tell you.
Yeah.
Everybody has a preset weight limit. The more
Mm.
fat cells that you accumulate at a younger age, the higher your body will get used to having. So our bodies stop growing at the age of 17. So the weight that you were at 17 is the amount of weight that the body will be comfortable at, and it will fight to stay at that. I guess you want to call it homeostasis, I guess, for lack of a
Right.
better word.
Yeah.
That's where the body wants to stay. So whatever weight you were at 17 is where your body will feel comfortable going back to. Anything in excess of that can be lost pretty easily. Anything below that is not so easy. You may lose it, but that's why people gain back that 5, 10, 20, 50 pounds, because they went past their preset weight limit.
Right. It's not
That's why the diet
sustainable.
drugs, people going crazy for the diet drugs, because, like Wegovy, Saxenda, all of
Yeah, yeah,
those
yeah.
drugs, I've been on at least 2 of them, 3 of them actually. They do work. They do get you past that. But as soon as you get off those pills, the weight comes right back because the body wants to get back to the preset
Yeah.
weight limit as to where it was. So I can't stress enough to parents, if you have a child that is starting to show signs of obesity in childhood, you have to intervene quickly, because you don't want, the body to get used to being at such a high weight that by the
Right.
time they're in high school, they're 300-400 pounds. And then
Right.
that's their limit for the rest of their life. So
Wow.
there's a huge science to this. And they don't tell you that when you go for weight loss surgery. They don't tell you
Uh,
that.
Can you describe a little bit what that process was like for you? I know it was years ago at this point, but
Yeah.
I'm curious as to what that process was like from, going to a doctor and saying, this is something I'm interested in,
Yeah.
to, post-op.
It's very, it was very like this.
Mm.
You go into the office, you watch a video of, some screen of not the actual surgery, but like a cartoon of
Right.
what the surgeon's going to do to your stomach. He sits down, he gives you some numbers, he asks you, kind of what your goal is, and then he gives you a goal of what he thinks is going to be, which he didn't actually give me one because he wasn't sure if it was actually going to work on me because of my thyroid problems, because of the PCOS, because of, different things. He was like, I'm going to give this a shot. He goes, I'm going to do it anyway. He goes, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's just see what happens.
Wow.
So that was this. And then, you have to see, I had already seen a dietitian for years. Normally you have to see a dietitian for about 3 to 4 months, and you have to demonstrate that you can actually lose weight. But thank God they accepted a letter from her where it said, Kristen's been with me for years.
Right.
I've seen her product, I'm recommending this. They accepted that. They won't do that now. Then you have to go to a psychiatrist who basically just ask you like a couple of questions. Are you suicidal? What's going to happen if you gain the weight back? Like, just like very generic questions, but it's just a check off. Like, okay, doesn't feel
Yeah.
suicide, this and that. It's a process that they're meeting the insurance company's requirements to
It's
get
an
you for surgery.
insurance
I had to
thing.
go for a stress test on my heart. I had to go for a breathing test. I had to go for a lot of different things. But all of my doctors, my real doctors, were very much on board with that.
Yeah.
My, internist was like, you're not living your life. You need help. Like I'm
Yeah.
going to push this. So he did. And the process was actually very simple. It wasn't that hard. I don't know what it's like now.
Right.
Some people don't get it approved, but because they're at such a low weight, they're
Right.
taking people who are 200 pounds, but like I said, even at 200 pounds, if your preset weight limit is 150, guess where you're going?
Yeah.
Do you really need to do
Absolutely.
something that drastic? You're not just going to keep losing weight. That's why you see people that had weight loss surgery think, well, what if I lose too much weight? You're
Right.
not going to lose. It doesn't happen like that. The body, trust me, wants to keep you alive. It's going to stop you
Yeah.
before you get too far. So
Yeah. The reason why I like to ask when I talk to somebody that has had bariatric surgery is
yeah,
because I am so curious, like what one's experience is with that, because so much of it, from what I've gathered, is to check off those boxes for insurance and to ascertain the risk of, can you survive the surgery, because it's a big
right. You
deal.
have to be in good health. You do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you do have to be. They do test you to see if you smoke cigarettes or if you smoke weed
Yeah.
or anything like that. Like, do you have a support system around you that's going to help you? Making sure that you understand the foods that you're going to be able to eat after. You're literally taking someone who's used to eating probably well over 2,000 calories per day, and literally overnight, you're going to eating only maybe 100 calories per
Yeah.
day for a very long time.
Yeah. I think that that's something that maybe people I don't subscribe to the idea of weight loss surgeries or weight loss medication
Right.
as a quote easy way out. I feel like
Mm-mm.
that's something that has been brought into pop culture
It's harder.
as yes, I agree. As it's in popular culture, it's something now where going those routes are seemed as you're looked at as somebody that doesn't have any willpower, that yeah, it's all
Right. If you just
baloney.
controlled yourself. Oh, absolutely. My family, when I would talk to them about weight surgery, people don't understand weight loss surgery. When they hear weight loss surgery and then you're going for surgery, they think it's like liposuction,
Right. If
where
only.
you're going to come back skinny. Like I literally
Right.
had someone say that to me, like, oh, I thought you had weight loss surgery. Like, why are you still fat? And I'm like, because you don't realize that people don't understand
Yeah.
what it really is, because if you've never had a weight problem, you don't look in that direction. Of
Right.
course, we've heard about somebody's sisters, cousins, aunts, uncle that have had the surgery, and of course they had some sort of problem, but my family didn't understand that, and they were like, well, we don't understand why you have to do this when
Yeah.
you could just go on a diet and lose weight. Like if you just had willpower, like if you just stopped. And it's like, but that right there, when I talk about those old stories and the toxic people in your life, the toxic attachments, I'm a psychic medium, so I pick up on people's energies
Yeah.
and where they are in my path and what they're, and for other people too, what's coming at you. That was a fear of theirs, because I would no longer be able to fit into their box of the fat one in the family, the one that they could go
Absolutely.
out to dinner with all the time, the one that they could pig out with, the
Yep.
one that they could use, the one that they could abuse, the one that they could take advantage of. I would now be changing and be more confident and reflect back to them what they weren't doing. And that's just not your family, that's your friends and the people in your environment also.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that happen where people say, oh, you have no willpower. That's just a way of somebody putting you down. That's
Yeah.
just a way of somebody saying, oh, you can't control yourself. But what I found out after weight loss surgery, when I actually started talking to people about it, skinny people have binge eating problems too. They just don't acknowledge it. It
Yeah.
doesn't show up on them like it does to us. There are people who sit there and eat a bag of chips and they weigh 100 pounds, a whole bag of chips, or
Yep.
eat a whole cake or a whole pizza or pig out, or they have the same problems that we do. I
Mm-hmm.
never realized that, because I always thought skinny meant easy street.
Yep. Same.
Very wrong.
Same.
Wrong.
Absolutely same. And I want to pivot, but I also want to acknowledge how, we're having this conversation about, how it just is seemingly, oh, you don't have any willpower, but you've listed a litany of
Right.
medical conditions that you have that make it so that losing weight is especially difficult,
Yeah.
which I'm glad that that wasn't something that came up in the screening process for the surgery, that it wasn't something that impeded it, that the doctor did approve it, because who knows, another doctor could have said, no, you have these pre-existing conditions, this won't work for you.
Right. Well,
So,
they did say, well, they want their money. Bottom line,
right.
they want their money.
Yeah.
So if they could get somebody approved for it, let's just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to lose weight. And I was very grateful for it, because it did eliminate a lot of the comorbidities that were going to come to me later if I had not had weight loss surgery.
Right.
You know, and as far as willpower goes, I have to have 10 times more willpower than the average person, because my stomach is very small.
Yeah.
So I can't eat more than a couple bites at a sitting. I can't sit there and eat a whole sandwich in 2 seconds. I
Right.
can't even drink a bottle of water just straight down. I have to eat very slowly. I have to be careful of what I eat, unless I get sick. There's a lot of changes that happen to your body, but it
Yeah.
does make it a lot easier, because guess what goes down real easy? Candy, cookies, cake, because
Yeah.
it's mushy. So it goes down very
Yeah.
easily. But so if you wanted to gain the weight back, that's usually how most people would end up gaining the weight back. But I physically cannot eat the same way. And I have to consistently make smart choices all the time, because weight loss surgery and weight loss medications do not fix the biological problems with people like me and with many other people that are out there that are like me.
Right.
Doesn't fix it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I want to switch gears a little bit, because we touched on this a little bit in talking about, the people that you grew up with and the friends that you had in your life. So you mentioned before, like when you were like, a 5-year-old, you were already considered overweight.
Oh
So
yeah.
you grew up as a fat kid.
Yes.
And does your family have a history of obesity? And where are you from?
I'm from Long Island.
Okay, you're from Long Island.
Yeah. I was born in
And
Huntington.
and you what's the dynamics in your family? Like, was mom and dad fat, or what's the deal?
My mom was very, very skinny, but she comes from like a big family. Like my tallest aunt is like 6'6".
Oh, wow.
So, but they're big people. They're not necessarily, like my grandmother, she was like a skinny on top, but had very thick thighs,
Yeah.
very tall. My dad's side of the family, again, big people. My dad was obese, but I wasn't raised with him. So
Okay.
I didn't have that, in front of me, but my stepdad was overweight. So I always had that skinny, fat
Yeah.
parent that,
Yep.
it was, and my stepdad loved to turn it into who's fatter, me or Kristen, just always consistently
Right.
every day saying something about it. So I was always made to feel like the fattest person in the room. And
Right.
oftentimes I was, because I'm a tall person. I'm 5'11".
Mm.
So and we moved constantly. So I'm from Long Island, but I'm actually from everywhere. We moved like every 3-4 months. So every 3-4 months, or every once
Wow.
a year, I was the new kid in school.
Oh,
So here I
as
was,
if it's not hard enough.
as if it's not hard enough to blend in. Here I am walking into these schools, having to wear, plus size clothing in the 90s,
Which is
wearing the
hell.
same outfit as the librarian, walking
Yep.
as the overweight, librarian, not being able to wear t-shirts. They just didn't have it. I
Yep.
stood out like a sore thumb,
Oh,
and it was just, it was a lot. And it was constantly there.
did you grow up with siblings?
Yes, my two brothers, my two half brothers, they didn't have a weight problem. They do now,
Oh, go
because you
figure.
get older,
Yeah.
and everything catches up to you. And then
Yeah.
my sister, I wouldn't necessarily have called her overweight, because she, again, same body type. She had the skinny arms, kind of like a flat stomach, but she had, a big butt and big
Yeah.
thighs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she definitely, that was my example of, you're too fat.
Right.
Cover yourself when you wear a bathing suit. You're not going
Yep.
to get a boyfriend unless you're skinny. All of that started with, because she's 6 years older than me. So all of that language and thinking started with her being the older sister, being
Right.
the example for that. So that's where it actually started.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting. I always like to ask about the family dynamics because that does play
Oh,
such
it
a
does.
role
Yeah.
in and just you saying how you moved around a lot. I mean, it's hard being the new kid, but
So
having to be
much.
the fat new kid,
Fat
it's
new, oh
almost
my God.
cruel.
I used to cry. I remember one time asking a principal of the school to let everyone know that I was coming.
Yeah.
And because I was just so embarrassed, like, just because I there was no way I was going to blend in. And I remember walking into a classroom and everyone just like looking at me like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
moving the desks out of the way and just not wanting to talk to me and not wanting to be my friend, or anything. But yes, and it used to hurt so bad, but I
Yeah.
never let anyone see that. I
Totally.
always had the personality, loud, funny. I was very friendly with people. I was a gentle giant. That's who
Yeah.
I was, because
Yeah.
I was bullied, or if somebody tried me or anything like that, I would run away and cry,
Right.
and everyone would be, oh, just sit on him, just sit on him. Like, you can handle it, you could take it. And it's like, but that's not me.
I yeah. I remember going to my mom, upset about, someone making fun of me at school and her saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me." And that being how she handled it, and me
How
just
she
thinking,
handled it.
like, the fuck is this?
Right. How are you supposed to
Oh.
write? But now I teach, when parents do come to me for, the coaching, or if they come, or, whatever, I teach the children, fat is not a negative.
Yeah,
It is
that's
not
important.
a negative. It is a way of, is describing cells inside your body. So if somebody wants to talk about your cells inside your body, okay, let's talk about the mitochondria. Let's talk about the blood. Let's talk about the brain cells. Let's talk about the liver cells. You're going to make fun of those too? Are you going to call me a liver cell next? Like, just brush it off. We have to teach it, because that word fat, when
Yeah,
anyone said the word fat, I would cringe.
it dismantled me.
Oh my God. I would be like, oh my God. Like, even in health class, when they would talk about calories and working out, and everyone would just kind of like look at me like this, or
This
like gym
universal
class, like it was
experience. Ugh.
just, and I was like, you know what? It's not a negative. We need to
Right.
stop with that. Because listen, obesity and being overweight is the last form of discrimination that's allowed in this country. You
Yeah.
don't realize how you act towards big people until you either are one or somebody explains it to you. The no eye contact, treating you like, even when I was in that very serious abusive relationship, I knew that I couldn't call the cops because they were going to take one look at me and be like, they're not going to see me as a victim.
Right.
They're not. And I
Yeah.
knew that. And
Wow.
because it is what if somebody called you fat, well, you are fat. So, and they just don't consider your feelings. They don't look at you as being a person.
Right.
You're fat.
Right.
I didn't know fat was a person.
Yeah. I also used to think that there was credence to, well, you can't change if you're ugly, but you can change if you're fat. Like you can lose weight. But now that I'm an adult and I've like become this encyclopedia on
Yeah.
dieting and bodies, it's like, no, sometimes you can't change that you're
Sometimes
fat.
you can't. You're right. I had a tummy tuck.
Mm-hmm.
Um, again, I went to go see a surgeon. As soon as I found out they did plus size plastic surgery, I said, sign me up.
Yeah.
Because the stomach was like its own planet. Because losing all of that weight, you have all that extra skin. There's nothing like losing all that weight and having literally your old body hanging off of your new one. With all that extra
Amazing. Like
skin, with everything just falling down, looking like a
that's
mental. You look
trippy.
great in clothes. So I went to
Right.
go see the plastic surgeon, and his name's Dr. Pinsky. He's an amazing man. He was this little tiny guy, and I'm a stand-up comic, so I make a joke about everything. And
Yeah.
I took one look at him, and I looked at his little tiny hands, and I said, "Are you sure you sure you can handle all this? You sure you got a knife big enough for this?" And he's like, "I don't have a knife. I have a scalpel." It's just, but he really, honestly, he had a magic wand because I
Right.
mean, it's not perfect, but he was very honest with me where he said, listen, because I went in for a tummy tuck at 315 pounds.
Mm.
Because again, and he said to me, listen, ideally, I would like you to get to your goal weight. And I said, well, I've been this weight for whatever amount of years. I said, it's not
Yeah.
going down, doc. I said, I can't live like this anymore. I can't do it. It was just in the way of everything.
Right.
It was getting so heavy and just so uncomfortable and just it really affecting my self-esteem emotionally. I just wanted it just gone. He did an amazingly beautiful job. My stomach it's not completely flat because there's still, I mean, it's flat, it's very flat, but it's a big difference from what it was.
Right.
And he was very real with me. He said, listen, I know what you're picturing in your head, but honey, you are not built for a small frame. You're always going to have padding. You're always going to be, this
Yeah.
is.
I mean, you're 5'11". It's all
Right.
relative.
Mhm.
I used to hate my big feet. I'm like a size like 10, 11
Me
foot.
too, girl. Yeah.
But I'm 5'8" and a half, but I'm 5'8". And I used to hate that about myself. And I'm like, but if I had smaller feet,
We
I
tip
would trip
over.
everywhere.
Right. We
Exactly.
don't need to rent water skis. We got our feet. Like,
Right.
I don't even care
Absolutely.
about my big feet anymore. I don't care about my height either. I will put on 4-inch heels. If those shoes
Same.
look fierce, I will stomp down I do not care.
Yeah.
I
It's like
don't
we're
care.
already tall. Like, what am I going to
Exactly.
do?
I'm tall already.
Like,
You don't like it. I love the fact that you look at me when I come walking in the room. I
yeah.
love putting on my bodycon dresses. I love not having to live around my stomach. There's absolute joy and freedom when it comes to plastic surgery. And guess what? It's not covered by insurance.
Yeah.
Small parts of that, because you have weight loss surgery, are covered. But
Right. Well,
the
I
other
was
part,
going to ask, so you said you were around 315 when you got this plastic surgery
yeah,
done, but
yeah.
do you know how many pounds of skin was taken off? Because
20
that had
pounds.
20
20 pounds.
pounds. So you
20
lost
pounds.
20 pounds of
Yep. And gained
extra
it right
skin.
back. Came right back.
Good.
Oh, it did. It was all. Anyone who thinks that plastic surgery is easy, it is not. It was extremely painful, um, because he just took off a huge chunk
Yeah.
of stomach,
Oh,
and it did hurt quite a bit. I wouldn't say that the pain was. I mean, I remember every bit of it, with the nerve shocks, the itching, the burning, the giant hole in my stomach that I could stick my hand up in, the belly button leaking and changing and morphing. My entire body swelled up.
yeah.
because they cut the lymphatic system. So I was retaining water, and you can't really do anything. Your abdominal muscles feel like, you're literally like, you just did like 1,000 sit-ups.
Yeah.
Because I had muscle repair, I had lipo, and I had the paniculectomy, which is the apron of skin that hangs over the, whatever.
Got it.
Your hips.
Yeah.
So all of that was cut off. So there was a lot of changes that happened, because I literally looked like I was pregnant when I got done. And you think, again, with unrealistic expectations, oh, it's just going to be flat, it's going to be gone. Nope. It took a year and a half. It's still going down. It's still healing. Almost 2 years later, it's still changing and flattening out and smoothing out, and all of this. It takes a while to do that. So what happened was, because of the swelling and because I was off my feet, for 8 weeks, I took my body past my preset weight limit. So then right away, because I was immobile, and I wasn't eating either, because, you're sleeping most of the time. I didn't feel like eating.
Right.
It's a lot, trust me, to try to go to the bathroom, to cough, to move, to bend over, to do anything. Was really, really hard for 8 weeks. It was a lot. Would I do it again? Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely would.
Yeah.
It
seems like there's still a freedom in getting that done.
Oh, girl, between the infections and the skin folds, the heat in the summer, having to lift it. I mean, I'm getting graphic. I'm just being real.
No, please be graphic.
Lifting the stomach up to have to wash,
Yeah.
shave, not being able to bend over, not being able to tie my own shoes without driving my stomach into my lungs to the point where I couldn't breathe, not being able to roll over, not being able to, wear what I want to wear, all of that.
Yeah.
To go to a movie theater and be able to sit in the seat, the recliner seats, without my stomach hitting the button back and forth, like the seat's going up and it's going down, it's going up, it's going down.
Right.
Why? Because of my stomach. And there was literally nothing that I could do about that. And I said, this has got to go.
Yeah.
So as soon as I heard plus size plastic surgery, I said, I'm going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go back a little bit to going off of what you're talking about. So coming from the perspective of where you were when you were 600 pounds, what sort of limitations were you experiencing? You touched on it a little bit, like you were in a situation where you couldn't defend yourself. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I lived in a 4-floor walk up in Brooklyn. So just to get up and down the stairs was really hard.
I would imagine.
I would walk up one flight and have to stop. The neighbors would come out and ask me if I was okay, because I would be breathing so heavy.
Yeah.
And then walk. It used to take me like 15, 20 minutes to get up and down the stairs. My knees and my back hurt so much. I used to have to talk myself, to get out of bed in the morning, to stand up, to take a shower and be able to wash yourself properly, to bend over, to do anything was getting to be really out of control. I was slowly but surely becoming a shut-in in the house, which left me, even more susceptible to abuse, because I didn't start the relationship at that weight. It's slowly but surely, from the stress of being in such a toxic relationship, just kept mounting and mounting. So every day it was ice cream, candy, cookies, cake, pizzas, everything, every single day, because I was just so. And my spirit guides would just every day when are you going to start your life? When are you going to start your life?
Wow.
When are you going to get out of here? When are you going to do this? Every day, just all the time, until finally I just asked for help. And I said, I need help. I need to get out of here. And then it turned into an incident. And I just remember he had his foot on my throat and I couldn't breathe. And I said, I'm going to die. I felt it. I said, I'm just going to die here. And then something just made me just kind of like move a certain way. And he kind of lost his balance. I was able to get up, but I was crying so hard, I just couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And then I was able to just get out. Like, it just felt like there was just something just like pushing me, like just to like get out. And then I called my mom and she said, well, you're going to come stay with me. So I did. I packed my stuff, took my cat, and I never looked back.
And you got the hell out of there.
I got the hell out of there. And that is exactly when I started really because that was scary. I I really didn't know how I would have survived that had I not, moved a certain way, because I was crying and I was hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Just the weight, and I was in so much pain that I just couldn't get up.
Yeah.
And I realized to myself, like, you couldn't even defend yourself.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to defend someone attacking you. How was so I had to get out. It was just no way.
It's so incredible that you, in the moment of, having this incident happen where you were at this point where you were in a compromised position where your life could have been taken,
Yeah.
it sounds like you had that moment, a moment of like almost surrender, where you were like, I'm going to die. And
Almost. Yeah.
then the universe, something
Miraculous. It
moved.
was it was it,
Yeah.
it was like I got up somehow.
Yeah.
Because before, like, if you've ever been on the ground when you're overweight, you kind of like take one knee and then push up on your
The
thigh and get up, or
process.
lean up
Yeah.
on something. But it was like as soon as he got off, I just remember being up on my feet, and then he just like stumbled back into the couch, almost as if somebody just like pushed him like that, and I was able to get past him and get out the door.
Yeah. Ugh.
And I was like, and then I was able to like sit up there and just like calm myself down. Nobody called the cops. Nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. And mind you, this was all over $20, by the way.
Oh God.
It was all over $20, but that was his own sickness. I don't blame him for, for any of it. Whatever he was going through in his life, I was the one that chose to stay in that situation when I knew that I shouldn't have, when I knew that my life and my path was 10 times more important. But I know that now. You can
Right.
only, and I feel bad for people who are in relationship with it. Even when you watch stories like My 600-Pound Life, and people will joke and they'll say, oh, well, they have a boyfriend, they have this, they have that. They don't have a boyfriend, they have an enabler. That's what they have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he started to become my enabler with the food, and I was his enabler with the drinking, by allowing stuff like that to continue, instead of just leaving
Absolutely.
him where he was, and I would be left where I was, and we would just separate. Because he would always tell me, oh, if you ever try to lose weight, I'm going to tie you to the bed and feed you donuts.
Right. It was a
You know,
threat.
right. So it's like, if you become, if you win an award for being a screenplay writer, if you make it at any point in your life, I'll leave you.
Yeah.
That, and when you have that thinking where I have to, because dating when you're overweight, not always an option.
I feel like when there's this feeling when you're dating when you're overweight where you're like, well, I will take what I can get.
Yeah, because it's, oh, by the way, oh, I want to introduce you to my friend because, he likes that.
Right.
What do you, oh, he likes big girls. So I can only date guys that
Right.
like big girls.
Yeah.
Because you're also made to feel, if you have a crush on somebody or you like somebody and they're automatically like looking like, that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Good for you. Oh yeah, maybe he likes you too, type of thing. So you grow up and you go through dating very unsure and very insecure about yourself, that sometimes you actually push someone away that actually
Absolutely.
really does like you,
Yeah.
because you're right away, it's the wall up,
Yeah.
because you're just expecting the disappointment.
We're inclined to think that we're told that, men don't like women that look a certain way, like, even though there are plenty of men that are very much into,
Yes.
different body types and
Mhm.
styles, like, but for some reason we're taught, like,
Right.
it
But
would
it's our energy that keeps
yeah.
them away,
Yes.
because there are billions of people. Like, I was told growing up by my parents, you're not going to find anyone that's going to love you. No one's ever going to love you. You're never getting married. You're never having kids, all of that. So for me, I understand the comforting, like you were saying with the food. The only way I could feel good was when I ate sweets and stuff like that, because it gave me that, endorphin rush.
Right.
And that's how I felt when I would watch people like on shows like Fall in Love and Get Married, or have, kiss or something like that. I would feel that, oh
Yeah.
wow, but I knew that I would never have that. And it made
Right.
me cry, upset, and, cry. And then you would go for food just to get that feeling, because I knew that that was the only way I was going to get it.
Right.
But it was also the way of, different influences in the spirit world trying to show love by making me eat that to make me feel good. You know, which is a
Right.
totally different book, an obesity ghost story. That's a different book. We'll talk about that another time. But so I, you know, even with dating now, and then I thought to myself, just a couple years ago, I had to rewrite that story, and I just got this download, and it said there's literally billions of people in this world. What do you mean that not at least one, two, or three people wouldn't love you? What do you mean? Like, do you even know who you are? Like, do you
Right.
look at yourself in the mirror? Do you hear yourself talk? Do you see what you do for people? Like, just all these good things. It's ridiculous to think that, you know, there's not somebody out there who's not going to be like, wow, look at this beautiful woman. But it's our energy that we have to change. It's our story that we have to change so that we can accept that love. So we have that higher vibration to attract in the type of love that's going to love us for the person that we are, and not just because they happen to like a little bit of extra mayo on their sandwich. You know,
Right.
let's keep it real, you know?
Absolutely. Oh gosh. Well, I love that we're talking about this because I do want to pivot a little bit. Now you have the job title of transformational spiritual life coach.
Yes.
So do you have like a few sentences as to what that is?
Well, a transformational spiritual life coach. I'm a psychic medium. So when I help people to transform, I'm able to use my guides and your higher self to connect, to really dig deep and take a look into where the areas of your life that you want to change,
Mm,
to remove the blockages, to find out where these energies are, where they came from, who's still embodying them, and how to remove them from your path, or at least be able to work around them or be aware of them. So when people come to me, I can tell them, okay, this is what's going on now. And then this is what could possibly be coming in the future so that you're aware of it. So if you do decide to go for weight loss surgery, I'm going to tell you, listen, this is what's going on in your life right now. These are the energies that you have around you. This is who and what and where you need to, you know, to be aware of. But what areas of your life would you like to transform? Would you like to change? What
right.
frame of thinking are we going to change? How are we rewriting our story the way that we've always wanted our life to be, as if it's happening now? So I use a lot of manifestation. I teach people how to manifest, how to take things from the other side and bring it down here, because that's how the universe works. That's
Right.
how you change your energy. So I teach people to transform and change their energy, because you could use the energy of the universe around you to lose physical and emotional weight.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Bottle and sell that.
I should, you know what? If I could sell that in an injectable, I'd be a very rich woman now, wouldn't I? So
Yep.
come here, let me poke you with a needle, sit down, and we'll begin the session. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I'll just poke you with a needle every day.
Yep. Just give whenever someone comes to sit down with you, just give them a tic tac and say, this is a pill that's going to change your life,
Gonna change your life.
placebo, and then get into the healing.
Hey, listen,
Um,
that's why the book is coming out. That's why all of that is coming out. Because, you know, I studied holistic nutrition while I was going through weight loss surgery. I've been, you know, everything that I went through, Spirit made it very clear. This is why you went through it. Because when I do my readings for regular people, you know, just anyone coming to me for anything, I
yeah.
realized that a lot of things that they had gone through in their life or were currently going through was something that I went through, and I knew how to guide them and help them. And to see that transformation by the end of the reading, where and to get their messages from their guides and their ascended masters, and just picking up on the energies of the universe to give them the advice that they need, it helps people move along their life path a lot faster and
Wow.
staying stuck,
Yeah.
you know.
Totally. No, that totally lands. And it's interesting that you're talking about your guides and where you are now, because I
Yeah,
was interested if your spiritual abilities played a part in you gaining and losing weight, and it sounds like they absolutely
they
were
did.
there along for the ride.
Oh, they did. And I did not realize that until I started writing my 600-pound afterlife and started putting, you know, some pages down on an obesity ghost story, because food was used, you know, in my house as abuse. If I wore my hair wrong, or if I said something wrong, if I looked the wrong way, my stepfather would take dessert away because he knew that
Right.
that was the one thing that made me feel good. And he would hide the box of little Debbie snack cakes, you know, somewhere in the house, or just, hide them somewhere. And I never saw where he hid them, but I would, always be woken up out of my sleep in the middle of the night and just be kind of guided to the cookies or to the snack cake or whatever it was. I always found them. And it
Yeah.
wasn't like he kept it in the same place. I mean, that man got creative. Let me tell you, he got real creative
How
in the
is she
basement,
finding
the attic.
these?
How did she find it? They would do that because they wanted to give me, because it was their way of showing love. And I started also
Yeah.
to notice that when I was doing readings for people, that, when the spirits would come in, they would talk about food. And I would be like, who made the really good um lasagna recipe, or who made I see even right now somebody who's watching, or somebody who may be watching, they may resonate with this like Cookie Monster cake with the blue sprinkles and the eyes and the cupcakes, or something
Right.
blue sprinkles and cupcakes, something like that. Like I would get messages like that, and that's what they're showing me, and it would resonate with the person. Like even this weekend when I did the psychic fair, I said, I don't know who baked the cakes or who did this or who baked cakes. I just said, I see this cake in front of me. It's got all this powdered sugar. She started laughing. She goes, well, I'm the baker, not my grandma. And I'm actually going to go home today and I'm going to make a cake. So I know that they influence that, because that's how they
Yeah.
because food is energy. It's
Yeah.
energy. Spirit will latch on to anything that's energy to try to communicate with us. And food is a way of doing that. So a lot of the addictions, food addictions or drug addictions, alcohol addictions, actually don't come from us. It comes from somebody that's on the other side, or just the collective energy that's around us, because spirit exists around us in the same place that our energy life force exists around us. It doesn't exist within us. So any energy can come in there and influence you. You ask any medium or psychic if they've ever had an addiction, they're going to tell you that they have, because it comes from ancestral DNA. It comes from, all this stuff. And when I talk about this, people think I'm crazy. But would it be nice to be able to, kind of shut that off and kind of say to the spirit, all right, back off. Like I know when I'm getting like a massive peanut butter craving, I know that it's my dad trying,
That's
because he was a
so
big peanut butter
cool.
junkie. But I found that out because when I had weight loss surgery, I didn't know what to eat. So the only thing that would stop the hunger, like because you get the emotional hunger, the physical hunger, but the only thing that would kind of stop me was peanut butter. But my dad was overweight and he never liked to lose weight. That was a big topic of him. So me losing weight was a threat to his energy. And I realized that. And I was like, oh, so I don't eat peanut butter anymore. So I know when I get that craving, I know it's him. Or I'll get cravings for like jelly donuts or Dunkin' Donuts, all the foods that he loved, the ice cream and this and that. So now I know, okay, well, I need to cut that energy from me because it's not serving me. I love my dad, but not if you're going to do harm to me, man. Like, come on. Like, look at how my dad died from diabetes.
Wow.
No legs, no fingers.
Wow. I was going to ask if he was
Dialysis.
still living and
Ooh. Nope.
Yeah. When
Nope.
did he pass?
He passed away in 2000.
Oh,
So
long
this
time
was
ago.
way before. Yeah. And even when he did pass, I was nowhere near, as overweight. But I only met him when I was 15 years old.
Right.
So, and then he died when I was, right before I turned 21. So I just didn't know how to get close to him. The only way I could feel close to him was by food, bringing him food in the hospital.
Yeah.
Talking about food with him. So that was our connection. That was our relationship. So spirit's like, okay, well, I can get to this. Because even before I do readings, I'll sometimes get cravings for certain foods. And I'm like, why am I craving Pop-Tarts? Or why am I craving like weird things? Like, why is like, am I pregnant? Like, what's going on here?
Right.
And then I started to realize that the spirits that are influencing that. And this happens to a lot of people. It's just people like, oh, you're gonna but listen, if I'm gonna blame anyone for being overweight, yeah, I'm gonna blame the ghost. That's gonna watch. People are gonna start making fun of us now too. Oh, this girl, she has a haunted body. She's
Oh, I love that. I love that.
It's the ghost of
fat.
Aunt Virginia. Made me fat.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Wow. So as a kid, your guides were present in your life.
Yeah.
When did you realize that is what was happening?
I think when I saw the movie Poker Dice 2 is when I realized what I had. Because like I said, we moved around. I didn't realize about the food influences until I started reading publicly about, 3 years ago. I've always been a medium, but you don't do that in public because it's weird, but I don't care. Because we moved around a lot, you're in other people's houses, and almost every house is haunted, and you're an open channel like I am. You're definitely influenced by other energies that lived in the house. Could have been before you got there, could have lived there in 1809, or just somewhere in the ground. You're influenced by that. So that didn't help moving around consistently. But when I saw the movie Poker Dice 2, and I saw her with the, picking the colors out of, her grandmother would say, oh, get me the yellow. And she would look and she would just pick out the yellow one. I can do that. Or touching something that someone died from, and being able to pick up on their energy, or looking at someone's picture and being able to tell you all about them. All that stuff, I developed as I went along, but I always knew that there were spirits around. I could not see them. I've seen ghosts probably about 5 times in my life that I've seen them, that where I know what I saw, but I've always felt the presence. Where like I remember sitting there on the couch as a little girl and looking into my bedroom, into the darkness, and just like focusing on the darkness, on the blackness, and just feeling being watched, and just feeling something else there.
So you had this knowing as a kid that you were a medium, but you didn't know to call it.
I didn't know what it was. Yeah, you didn't. Yeah. I didn't know. Nobody talked about like mediumship or anything. I actually wasn't aware of it, I think, until I saw probably Teresa Caputo, when I like heard about her when she came out a long time ago. And I said, oh, that's what that is. But it never occurred to me to actually do readings. That was just something that I just kind of eased into. Where I would just kind of like get drunk at a party or something. Because when
party
you get
trick.
drunk, your inhibitions are lowered, and the spirits can influence you a little bit more. You're letting down your guard down a little bit. And I would just sit next to someone. I would be like, hey, by the way, did your grandmother pass away? Or does this name resonate with you? And they'd be like, yeah, how'd you know that? So it would just happen for me like that. But it was natural. I didn't think anything, that there was anything wrong with me. I didn't think, it was just something that I was so used to.
Wow.
So there's different, it's different levels of consciousness that you switch back and forth from. So I've always had, the higher self side that comes out to when I have to really put on a show. And then there's the Kristen that's kind of at home, the introvert, not really, not on stage, not, doing all this stuff, not helping people. There's a different ways. And I've always been very protected. So,
that's awesome. That is, whew, wow. That's so cool. I really am into mediumship and the concept of a higher self. And when it comes to our physical bodies in relation to our higher selves, like, do you have a depiction in your mind of what your higher self looks like, or do they like, how do you conceptualize your higher self?
I've never asked. I know I've seen it in dreams.
Wow.
And it's completely different. Not a completely different person, but it's a completely different energy. It's more forceful. It's more like very direct, like very not like afraid of anything. We all have a light side and we all have a dark side, and I've seen my higher self in dreams, like occasionally. But your higher self, I would say, when it's embodied inside the physical, when you're conscious, is that inner knowing, that inner voice, that inner nudge. It's a voice inside your head that will say, hey, make a left or make a right. That's your intuition. That's where your higher self comes from.
Wow.
Your higher self leaves you when you sleep, when you dream. You're not aware of it. You don't know about it, but it's out there. I've had people call me and say, hey, you came to me in a dream last night. I saw you clear as day and you told me this information. And I'm like, what? And I don't remember that. So we do leave. That's why I'm telling you, like, we actually exist outside of our body. We don't exist within it. So the physical body is, the energy self, our soul self doesn't die. Our physical body dies. And that's what death is. Death is transcendent. but it's also having to say goodbye to the person that you are right now.
Mm.
Kelly Taylor is never going to be Kelly Taylor again.
Yeah.
I'm going to be Kristen Tinsley again. That's one of the hardest things to have to learn to let go of.
Right.
And I feel that a lot of spirits do struggle with having to let go of family members that they loved, or just the life that they loved, and then that's why they influence so many different things. You have to be very careful with who you call upon to help you with your life, because you
Right.
just don't know who you're going to get, but you can actually call upon any energy that lived here on earth that wants to do, that you want to do kind of the same thing that they did. You can call them in and you can ask them for their help, because if you don't know your own family, you got to be careful. You have to know where your bloodline started. You have to know who would be familiar to you on the other side. Yes,
Wow.
they're cleansed and they're this and that, but the energy that you die with is the energy that kind of remains until you choose to be reborn again.
Wow.
You know,
That's amazing. Um,
there's a lot.
okay.
There's a lot to
Yeah.
know with that.
Yeah, no, it's a lot, but I find it so interesting, and maybe for the listener, for some people that may be listening, it's not landing, but for me, being aware of sort of leveling up and one's higher self, and the fact that all of this is energy, it's so interesting to me that our it's like I have to be reminded that we have a higher self that's at play, that is guiding us, and I want to be so in tuned with that, to have
Meditate.
it, to get these sort of quote unquote cheat codes to live this, great life.
You make the cheat codes. Their higher self is the one that makes it happen, because that's the energy that rises up within your body to make it happen.
Uh-huh.
You make it happen, because
Wow.
we are spirit, we are energy. We're born love, we're born, with a clean slate. And unfortunately, we're born into a society around different people. You just don't really know where you're going to land. But
Right.
that's what I'm saying. You could write whatever it is, area that you want to change in your life. You could start your story there. It is literally a once upon a time, but it's not a once upon a time. It's I'm on a cruise right now. I'm
Right.
having, I have so many friends. I have the best example I can give you. You ever see the movie Practical Magic?
Yes.
Okay. You remember the scene with Nicole Kidman when she was writing to her sister? I have a million friends. I have such a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
life. It was happening, but she was manifesting it as it was happening to her, right? She always wanted love. She wasn't afraid of love. Her sister was afraid of love.
Yeah.
But that's one of the strongest movies. There's a truth about how you write your life into existence. Because, and they're, witches, whatever, they're not witches, well, they were, but manifesting, when she wrote that spell, this is the guy I want, she literally manifested that guy, and he showed up to a T. You can do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it comes out wonky. You have to be very specific, and you have to be very intentional with it, and then you have to believe that you already have it. Like, I already have this. A lot of
Yeah.
people, you got to look into, not just the Instagram manifestation post, even though those are helpful. You got to really look into universal law, so that
Mm-hmm.
you understand how those laws work, because they're put here for us for a reason. If you could have everything that you ever wanted in your life, and you could manifest it,
Yeah.
it may not come tomorrow, and that's why a lot of people give up, but it's gonna come.
Right. Wow. I
Just
love it.
the information, that I have now to put out in that book wasn't something that I could have done when I graduated in 2009, because I didn't have the information yet. I still needed to go through certain things
Right.
first, because I said, I want to be a published author. I want to write a book. But I had no idea what I was going to write about. I always went to holistic practitioners, always studied holistics. Guess who became a holistic? It's almost as
Yeah.
if sometimes when I write stuff, you write your own predictions, like
Right.
Nostradamus. Did
Mm-hmm.
Nostradamus predict it, or did he manifest it to happen?
Right. Right. It's like The Simpsons. Did The Simpsons predict all those things, or was it just written into history?
Or was it written and it came true?
Yeah. Right.
Because it was like a manifestation. That's happened to me. I've done automatic writing where I'll just get this idea and I'll start thinking, oh, wow, this is such a great story. And then it'll happen. Not in the same way I wrote it, but it'll happen. Or I'll just get like there's going to be something horrific that's going to happen today. There's going to be a bus accident. There's going to be this, there's going to be that. I don't know where it's going to happen, but I just hear it because I can pick up on, different energies that are around. That doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen.
But it can happen.
As far as like predicting the future, we write our own future because that's all we have is right now.
Right.
We write our own future. So however you picture yourself, start there. Start 10 years from now, 5 years from now. Where would you be if you had your perfect life? And that's where you start. And that's what I teach people about transformational, how to do that. You could do it on your own, but it's good to have a guide to help you so that you understand. And this isn't a long process, every day for the next 20 years. No, this should be done at least maybe the least 5 weeks.
Right.
With that. And, because you have to really see that you got to do the work. You have to do the work. You have to do what you're being guided to do. And that's different for everyone.
Right.
Everyone is different.
Oh gosh. Well,
this is a lot, my dear.
Yes, it's a lot. Deep breath. I want to ask you, I know we're kind of coming in a close on time, but I do want to ask you, is when did you start doing stand-up comedy?
Well, I started doing stand-up comedy, I would say probably maybe about 5 years ago. Yeah, because I started stand-up comedy at 460 pounds. I started stand-up comedy right before I had weight loss surgery.
Okay, so you were in a much bigger body when you started stand-up.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
What was
I
that
look
like?
back at those videos. Oh, I now recognize that I was being prepared for what I do now as a medium, with doing platform readings, doing psychic fairs, public speaking, all of that stuff. I was prepared for it back in college when I studied, public speaking and journalism and media and film and all that stuff. That was the start of it to push me towards that. But being on stage and being able to communicate with people and to make them laugh, and just being out there with the microphone, it was all, I've never felt more comfortable on a stage than when I was doing comedy when I first started, and I hit the ground running, and I'm like, well, I'm going to produce my own shows. I'm not going to wait for somebody to book me on a show. I'm not going to wait for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to start doing my own thing. So I started the show with my ex, she's not my ex-partner, I hate saying that, but my former sidekick, Chris Cuff. We started the Vagisilly show.
Oh, that's so funny.
Vagisilly and Vagispooky. I'm actually doing Vagispooky this Friday the 13th in Levittown, the Governor's.
Oh, so awesome.
Yep. And so we do 2 shows, Vagisilly and Vagispooky. And then I also did the fat version of the show where I would put all the plus size, overweight comics on a show, which everybody loved. Those were a lot of fun. Those shows were really good time. But I wanted something unique, and we would do like little commercials, we would get people to sponsor seats, and we'd make them like little skits, like funny stuff, like the feminine fairies, and just all kinds of just let yourself just go. And it just released all my creative juices. It got me out of the house. I was going to all the open mics. I just didn't care, and I felt so comfortable on stage, and I just felt like, okay, I could belong here because I wasn't the only fat one in the room. It was actually acceptable, to kind of poke jokes about how fat you were. I mean, right. I had jokes about my stomach. I had jokes about all kinds of things. And I just, if people laughed, they laughed. And, yeah. So and then to watch, everyone has seen me literally transform in front of their eyes.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I feel like that it was meant to be that way, so people could see, yes, you can change your life. You can, do everything different. And then to come out as a psychic medium.
Yeah.
But it's welcome. They don't care.
Does spirit or guides come to you while you're performing?
No. Thank God they don't.
Yeah.
They
might have to be in a separate mind frame.
A separate mindset.
Yeah.
Which is why I would like to do more like platform readings where I'm reading for a big group of people.
Right.
Like John Edwards does.
Yes.
Being on stage like that with a big light on my face, being above everyone else. does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable, to do that. But at the same time, it does help me with being able to feel the energy in the room, who I could look at, where I could focus. But I've never really quite put that shift in where I would have to know who I'm supposed to go to. Like even at the psychic fair, there was a lot of people in there. I knew exactly who I was going to, who had signed up to read for me. I could feel the pull. So I know that I can do it, but when I'm doing comedy, for some reason, it's like it's a different feeling.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense, that because you really are like you shift gears when you're going into performance mode. So it would make sense that you're not having spirit come to you like how you could do that party trick.
I've never tried it. Yeah, because I did get up on stage and I did tell some jokes about being a medium, and people were just like looking at me with their mouths open, like, what?
Like you have three heads.
Like I have three heads. And then some people were like, I remember like the producer at Broadway was like, well, a lot of people don't know what a medium is. And I didn't think of that. And I was like, oh, I just assumed that everybody knew what it was.
Right.
So now I have to say psychic medium.
Right.
And then now you have six heads, or you're a weirdo, or people don't like to be made fun of, by a comedian, but now we're going to be picked on by a psychic stand-up comedian. Great.
Right. Right. Gonna know my deepest, darkest secrets.
Oh, people get they get so afraid of that, where they think like, I know, like you're, like weird things about you. And honestly, spirit doesn't care about stuff like that. They don't tell me, oh, this person did this when they're not here for that. Though that's the wrong spirit to be getting information from.
Right.
But it's to help you along your path. They're not so concerned with the physical things.
Yeah.
They don't really care about that. So it's not like, oh, I saw you take a dump today, unless it's important, and they're like, hey, listen, you might want to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
For that problem. Then they'll come in and I've had that happen. So
get a colonoscopy.
Yeah, you need to go to the doctor. Like there was just, I'll never forget. One time I saw an image of a woman's lady part in my face. I don't want to be vulgar. And I was doing a sound healing, and I just flashed right in blonde hair and everything. Curtains match the drapes.
Whoa.
And she's a good friend of mine, so she knows about the story. I'm not going to mention her name.
Yeah.
And I was doing a sound healing, and after the sound healing, I would do collective reading, small group. And I said to her, were you in the bathroom crying? Because I saw your hoo-ha. And she started laughing. And she said, yeah, because her husband had passed away.
Yeah.
So she said, yeah, I was in the bathroom crying because I had a urinary tract infection. I said, well, he saw it.
Oh my
And he's here to tell me that he was there with you while you were crying. But then I started to put together, that's why I call myself a holistic intuitionist, because when I read people, I can see a scan of the body, or spirit will show me a body part that may be sick, or they'll show me, how, if spirits communicate with me to give evidence to tell the person it's really them, they'll show me, how they died, or which part of the body was sick. But if I switch gears and I use it to help a person who's physically still alive, I can see kind of where the sickness is, or I'll just know intuitively. You just get that download. This is a part of your body that, you need to work on, because I'll either touch it or I'll feel it,
Wow.
So, but yeah, that was that's one of the stories that I tell a lot about, literally seeing that. I'm like, oh my God. She's a good friend of mine. So it's, it's cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Okay. So, to sort of wind us down here, maybe this is too heavy of a thing to throw at you at the end, but I'm curious as to what you have to say. What advice do you have for anybody that is looking to go on a weight loss journey, or they're on a weight loss journey and they're just feeling like they're spinning their wheels?
Deal with the emotional part first. Before you take the pressure off of yourself. Don't take let's dive all in approach. Don't follow the people that encourage you to beat the crap out of yourself, in a workout, in a gym, or fight through pain, or toughen up, or, this is a solo journey that you have to take by yourself. the idea of an accountability, a partner or gym buddy, I find to be laughable. I actually don't
Right.
find that to be helpful at all for most people. We all know why.
Yeah.
You have to face the emotional parts of it first. You have to start with where you are right now. What do you have in your refrigerator right now? What are the foods that you eat the most right now? And what are the emotions that you want to deal with? And then once you figure that out, what are the emotions that you want to feel every single day? And then start bringing things around you that bring in those emotions. I want to feel happy. I want to feel joy. I want to feel love. Okay, so you get rid of the things that don't make you feel those emotions, and you start to bring in those things that you do. The food really doesn't matter, because when you feel good about yourself, you want to take care of yourself. And when you can make yourself feel good, you don't need food to make you feel good. So you're automatically going to go for the things that nourish your body. What's good body? Strawberries, blueberries, salads, whole grains and proteins. It doesn't have to be complicated. There is no such thing as a certain amount of, like, oh, if you eat this half a cup of this and a quarter cup of this, and then you work your biceps exactly this way at this exact angle, you're going to get results.
Yeah.
You could literally work out 7 minutes per day doing 7 minutes of yoga and get good results. You don't have to go jump on boxes and run around. And
Right.
I commend you if you do that. It works for everyone differently, but you have to find what works for you. And I have a very unique system that I've created, but I don't talk about right now because it's in the program. A very unique system that uses the moon energy and the zodiac in a
Wow.
very organized way to get people to follow a system that I don't know if anyone's ever done it before. I really don't care. I haven't looked into it. I just developed it my way because I studied
Yeah.
moonology. I took a moonology course. So I'm a certified moonologist as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so
So, and
cool.
knowing about astrology, knowing about, the energy, it just gives people a very organized way of something that they could do. It takes the pressure off you because you literally have 2 and a bit days to get the workout done, to look at, the energy that you need to work on. And, you're going through the system, you're working, and plus you have me that you can contact. Hey, I need a reading. There's a certain point in the month where you would come get a reading. We look and see what's going on. It's very quick, it's organized, it's fun, it's easy. You learn a lot about yourself because I am the voice in between you and the cupcake.
Yeah.
And you could use the energies of the planets to heal yourself. And why not be the moon? Because the moon is the ruler of our emotions. If you can master that, you master the emotions, and this will be the last time that you ever have to be on a weight loss journey again. The last time you're going to get stuck. I'm telling you, it's going to be good. I'm very excited.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I'm so excited for you. When your
Thanks.
book comes out, My 600-Pound Afterlife, I'm going to have to start an I Feel Fat Today book club where we read it. And I am so excited to get my hands on that. So please, keep us updated when that comes out. Because I'll have to have you on again so we can talk about it more.
So excited to do that. This is
great. Amazing. Well, please tell us where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram on DivineFemedian, DivineFemedian Tarot, which I know Femedian, a lot of people can't spell that. I'm not going to bother. I know all the information could be in the description box. You could find me on TikTok, on Sagittarius Tarot Time, and also on YouTube, where I do readings every day or every other day, Sagittarius Tarot Time. Or, you could always just find me on Facebook, Kristen Tinsley. And you can also email me if you have questions about, the program, coaching, whatever, at ktinsley32@gmail.com. So there's lots of ways to get a hold of me.
Amazing. Guys, all of that will be in the description of the show. I just want to say before we sign off, my birthday's tomorrow, so I'm
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So I love birthdays, and I was wondering, sitting here as you're talking, like, I wonder what's her sign. I bet she's a Sagittarius.
I am.
And I was right.
You are Sagittarius. See if you can see if I can telepathically get you. What's the number that I'm born on? What's the birth date?
Okay, the birth date is the 13th.
My mother is October 13th.
Ooh.
So you're not off. My mother is October 13th. She's a Libra like you.
Yes.
I am December 9th.
December 9th. Okay.
December 9th. So, but you're not wrong, because my mother gave birth to me. So she's born, so
I was
you
connecting,
must be thinking about your mother.
My mom is August.
She's Leo.
Virgo, actually. August 23rd is my
Okay,
mom.
yeah, so she's a little bit on the cusp.
But
Yeah.
Taylor
Do you have a
Swift's
brother?
birthday is December 13th, I'm pretty sure. And I'm like
Yes.
obsessed with her. So
Yeah,
maybe that's
yes.
that.
So hey, listen, but you're right within the realm of, you know what I mean? You're right within the
Yeah.
realm of when my birthday would be. So, you know,
Right.
I don't, and plus I was born like 3 months early, so I could have been born, on the 13th.
Wow.
You never know, but you're never far off. But just knowing, oh, Sagittarius, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
right.
And you asked if I had a brother. I do. I have two brothers.
You do have two brothers. Okay.
You're good. You're good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, pretty good.
No.
Anytime you want, I got you, girl.
Yes. Well, Kristen, this has been so amazing. Seriously, thank you so much for coming on. It has been such a pleasure speaking with you. My listeners, I please go and follow Kristen and check out her stuff and maybe get a reading. Hey, live a
Do it.
little, you know?
Exactly. Find out. Gotta
Awesome.
live.
All right. Well, it has been so awesome talking to you. I hope you have an
Thank
awesome
you.
rest of your night and I'll talk to
You
you
too.
later.
All right, Kelly. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.